Hello everybody, Calamity here, or at least that's what Kafka calls me. Today's video is going to be all about our favorite healer lady, Bailu. In this video, we're going to go over everything you need to know, from her traces to her Lightcones, to relic options, team setups, Eidolons, and a little bit of a Memory of Chaos showcase at the very end. It's quite a lot to go over, so let's get started. Bailu is a character that follows the abundance path. That means she's primarily a healer, but also she's used to generate a ton of skill points for your team. She's very skill point positive because she rarely uses her skill to heal. In fact, most of her healing comes from the ultimate and her talent. Let's quickly go over what each of her traces actually does, starting with the normal attack talent or the basic attack talent, the diagnostic kick. It's nothing special, no fancy mechanics to it. She'll do a quick kick that does 90% of her attack as lightning damage, and that's pretty much it. Let's move on to her skill, which is called Singing Among the Clouds. Bailu's going to toss her healing water at one ally of your choice. It says it will heal 2 random allies after that first initial heal. It can also heal the same ally up to 3 times in a row. Let's move on to her ultimate next, which is going to heal everybody on your team. No RNG needed, which is nice. It's also going to provide what's called the invigoration buff to your allies. Now on paper, at least on this ultimate, it doesn't really tell you what that does. So that's where the talent comes in, which we'll talk about in just a sec. If your allies already have invigoration from either the ultimate or from her technique, then it will just instead extend the duration of invigoration, that's a sentence, by 1 turn. Invigoration lasts for 2 turns and it cannot stack. So let's talk about what her talent does, and this is what makes Bailu really unique, in my opinion. And it's also 2 effects bottled into 1 ability. So the first ability is that any ally that gets hit with invigoration will get healed by Bailu based off her max HP plus a little bit of a base of 135 at level 9. And this can trigger twice. So if you have an enemy that does like a multi-hit attack, you will heal each time you're hit 2 times. So that's really, really good. It might not sound like a lot of healing, but on paper, but it actually, when you actually see it in combat, it's actually quite a lot. And this is why Bailu is able to stay skill point positive, because she doesn't have to heal you with her skill. She can do it with invigoration from her talent and in combination of the healing of her ultimate. And that should be, honestly, if your Bailu is well built with a lot of HP, that should be enough to keep your team sustained in even the hardest fights in this game. No problem. Now the second effect of the Gourdful of Elixir is she will revive any ally that's been knocked down for a chunk of their HP. It's not a full revive, they won't go to max HP, but they'll be healed for a bit, and this can only happen once per battle. Lastly is her technique. This is what you use outside of battle. When you use it before entering a battle, all of your allies will have invigoration already for 2 turns. So this is really, really nice. And you can already start healing immediately as the fight starts. Now, as you can see, her minor traces give her a bunch of HP, which means more heals, which is great. Some effect res, which is always welcome, and a little bit of defense. Now, what they don't give you is speed, which unfortunately Bailu needs a lot of, but we can fix that with relics in the next section. But before we move on, let's quickly go over what her major traces do. This one makes it so that you can heal targets above their max HP up to 10%. This is a little bit useful, I suppose. It makes your squishier allies a little bit, beefier. Maybe they'll be able to take some hits without dying, possibly. But the thing is, when you're going up against bosses who do like constant AoE damage, it's going to be really hard to even get all of your allies to max HP, depending on who you're using. The Eidolons trace, this one is a really good one. It allows invigoration to trigger 1 more time, meaning you can trigger invigoration 3 times in total every time you're hit, which is a lot of healing. Next up is her Aquatic Benediction major trace ability. This makes it so that characters that have invigoration receive 10% less damage. Now you can pair this up with other damage reduction abilities in the game. So if you're using Fushwan and Bailu, that's like a 70% damage reduction, and I feel like you should never ever die to anything in this game if you're using those two characters together, although that's probably a little bit of overkill. Or other Lightcones and stuff like that can also provide damage reduction, so she can help your tankier characters be even tankier. And this helps counteract, or sorry, this helps in synergy with the healing you receive from Invigoration. So when you take damage, you're going to take less damage, and then you're going to heal it off immediately. So Bailu is what I like to call a reactive active healer. I know that sounds a little confusing, but you want to be active in using her ultimate to get that Invigoration buff as you want that up as often as possible, so that you can react to your enemies' attacks by healing immediately with Invigoration triggers. Really, really good kit overall. Next up is Lightcone options for Bailu. Now, if you're looking for the absolute best Lightcone you can give Bailu, it's going to be the brand new Knight of Fright. This is Huohuo's signature Lightcone. If you did pull for that for Bailu or for an Abundance character of your choice, honestly, it's good for any Abundance character, let's be honest. It gives you more healing. Whenever a character uses their ult, they'll get healed, as well as give your team an attack boost whenever Bailu heals. So from her, I believe from her Invigoration, she can also get a lot of free healing, which means free attack buffs. However, if you don't have Knight of Fright, that's okay, don't worry. You do have other 5-star options like Bailu's own signature Lightcone, which is Time Waits for No One. You can get this in the standard banner, or if you lose a limited weapon banner or Lightcone banner pull. I'm not trying to curse you or anything, but it can happen and you could end up getting this. It's okay. It basically increases Bailu's HP and outgoing healing by a bit, so just more healing overall. The secondary effect here, where you'll do an additional attack based off the recorded outgoing healing. This might sound cool on paper, but in practice, it means you're gonna have to heal quite a lot to actually see some decent damage numbers from this Lightcone effect. And again, it's not something special or something I would be happy about. It's not gonna magically turn your Bailu into DPS. It's more that the fact that this Lightcone just gives you a bunch of healing. Now, if you're looking for non-5-star options, don't worry, we have plenty. Post-op Conversation being a really solid option as well. It gives you a bunch of energy recharge, as well as increase your healing when you use your ultimate, which is perfectly in line with how we play with Bailu, so it's fine there. Next up is Quid Pro Quo. This is a free-to-play option because you can get it from the messenger or from a weekly boss. It's going to make it so at the start of Bailu's turn, she will regenerate up to 16 energy at super in position 5 for a random ally that has less than half of their HP, or their energy bar filled for their ultimate. So it's a little RNG, and you are giving up a bunch of healing buffs if you're not using any of the previously mentioned Lightcones. Perfect Timing is also another solid option. It increases her effect res, which can be very useful, as well as increase her healing based off the amount of effect res. If you are going to give her the Broken Keel effect, this Lightcone and that Planar Relic set kind of synergize with each other. And lastly, if you have it, I clearly don't, Multiplication is also going to be a really, really good Lightcone for Bailu. Now, on paper, the effect might not make sense, but remember that we heal primarily with our ultimate, and we do lots of basic attacks in the meantime with Bailu to stay skill point positive for your team. So you're going to be getting that nice advanced forward boost often enough to just basically get Bailu's turn over and over again to generate a bunch of skill points and energy for her ultimate. Next up, we're going to talk about relics. First, let's start with the 4-piece effect relics that you can get for Bailu. The best one, in my opinion, being the Messenger Traversing Hacker Space. The Messenger set gives you a bunch of speed, both on the 2-piece effect and the 4-piece effect. When you use your ultimate, you get a 12% speed bonus for everybody on your team, which is, it's fantastic. Bailu has one of the slowest or the lowest base speeds when she's level 80. So this helps counteract that. And yes, we do want a lot of speed for Bailu because, again, more speed means more normal attacks, which means more energy and more skill points for the team. If for whatever reason you don't want to give her the messenger set, you can give her the passerby of the Wandering Cloud set. This increases her healing on the 2-piece effect, and then the 4-piece gives you an extra skill point. Now, I'm not a big fan of this 4-piece effect. It's not really good because when you compare it to other 4-piece effects, it's a one and done kind of effect. You get it at the beginning of the battle, and that's it. And the set is just 10% and better healing. Whereas the messenger set, you can get value from that for the entire duration of the fight, because Bailu's going to be using her ultimate, or at least should be using her ultimate fairly often when she needs to heal the team. Now, the other option you can do if you're just starting out on relic farming is do a little bit of a mix and match. So you can give her like 2-piece cloud set for the healing, then 2-piece messenger set for speed, or you can give her a 2-piece longevous disciple set for the HP increase as well. Now let's talk planar sets. These are the relics that you can only get from the simulated universe. And the first one being the Fleet of the Ageless. This is honestly going to be her best planar set because it allows you to use her with anybody. On the 2-piece effect, you get an increase to your HP, which is more healing. And then when you reach 120 speed, all of your allies will gain an 8% attack boost. It might not seem like much, but again, it still allows her to be used with pretty much any DPS of your choice. Now, if you have a DPS in mind that you want to use Bailu with, and you're looking for a more specific kind of buff, you could also give her the Broken Keel. As we mentioned before, this is going to increase her effect res by 10%. When you reach 30% effect res, all of your allies will gain a crit damage increase by 10%. Now, this is only going to be good for like destruction characters, for example, like Sealy or Jingliu. Jing Yuan, characters like that are going to appreciate the crit damage. However, characters like Kafka, Sampo, Luca are not, because dot damage doesn't crit, so they don't need crit damage at all, and this isn't going to help them in any way. So just keep that in mind if you want to use, solid heavy hitters like as I mentioned before, then the Broken Keel is that set for you. One more planar set that I can recommend, and this one's brand new, is the Penacony Land of Dreams set. This gives you a bit of energy regeneration, which is great, and it'll increase the damage of all allies that have the same type as Bailu, so lightning, by 10%. So this only makes it so you can use her with Kafka, or Jingwan, or Serval. At least for now, at the time of recording. If they release more lightning DPS characters, then obviously you can have more options, but until then, this is all you got. So it's a very niche set, so it's up to you which one you want to give Bailu. Again, Fleet of the Ageless does give her a little bit more healing, and it's a global attack boost, which anybody can take advantage of. Now, for the substats for your relics, what are you looking for? We're looking for speed. We want to get a lot of speed on Bailu. We were looking for effect res, because in the case that you do run into enemies that apply nasty debuffs on you, you do want your healer to avoid them if possible. And you're looking for HP percentage. That's just going to mean more healing overall. And then you're going to look for defense percentage. Could be a nice filler stat, assuming you have the other stats mentioned above. This is going to make your Bailu a little bit more tankier. Again, you can't. It's not like Genshin where healers don't really need defense because they're not on the field. You can just swap them out and stuff like that. But not in this case, since Bailu's always going to be on the field. She'll be taking damage from AoE stuff and things like that. So a little defense can help. Now let's talk main stats for the other relic pieces. So if we're looking at the defeat slot, we want speed as the main stat, of course. Speed going to be very, very helpful here. I'm going to try to get some effect res, some HP percentage, some defense percentage. I got a bunch of defense on this one. Now, if you're early on into your farming, you can just give her some HP percentage boots at first, but you definitely want to get speed boots at some point. Next up is the body piece. For this one, HP percentage or outgoing healing bonus. Either or will be fine. Just whatever one has the better stats for you, substats for you. Next up, let's talk about the rope. The rope, you definitely want to get energy recharge on it. This is going to help so that you can get your ultimate uptime much faster. But obviously, getting energy recharge can be a bit of a pain, especially when you're farming these sorts of relics. So early on, you can use an HP percentage link rope if you don't have anything else. For the planar sphere, we don't need lightning damage bonus, obviously, so just HP percentage here, and hopefully with some good substats. Again, mine are pretty bad, so I'm definitely going to be looking for replacements. But do the best you can when it comes to relic farming, and you should be good. Next up, let's talk about Eidolons. Now, Bailu is a standard character, so you can expect her to... I'm not trying to curse you or nothing, but she can pop up in your standard banner pulls, obviously, and she can also pop up on your limited banner pulls if you lose her 50-50. Now, is she the best character or the worst character to lose your 50-50 to? That's debatable, but there's definitely better characters out there like Bronya or Welt even that you'd prefer to lose your 50-50 to, or Clara. Let's quickly go over what they do. So E1 is going to make it so that if a ally has the same amount of HP as their max HP, when Invigoration ends, they'll regenerate 8 extra energy for this target. Now this is pretty niche. I wish the wording was a little bit different, and it was if their current HP is equal to or greater than their max HP, because remember, Bailu can overheal with her major trace. Then this would be a little bit more doable, but they say it is what it is. It's going to be a little hard to take advantage of this Eidolon. Next up is E2, Sylphic Slumber. When you use your ultimate, you're going to get a 15% outgoing healing bonus, which is just more invigoration healing for 2 turns. E3 and E5 are going to increase your skill, talent, basic attack, and ultimate. E3 increasing the skill and talent first. This is great because more invigoration healing from the talent. For E5, more ultimate healing, and a basic attack level isn't bad. I mean, like, you are going to be using the basic attack a lot, so you might as well, invest some levels into it, right? So that it does do something. E4 is a little weird. It's called Evil Excision. It's going to make it so that your skill makes any ally that's healed by it do 10% more damage for 2 turns, and this can stack up to 3 times. So in an ideal situation, if you ever have your skill heal the same ally 3 times, you'd hope it's your, your main DPS or maybe even your sub DPS. But more realistically, it's probably going to heal Bailu, your sub DPS, and then some other random character for that 10%, and it's going to be hard to get the maximum value consistently. E6 is going to make it so that Bailu can revive an ally an additional time each battle, so she can revive twice now. This is good, I guess, to have, but it is an E6. This is, again, it's okay, but if your characters are dying more than twice per battle, we need to talk about your team and who you're using and and look at their builds, because something is seriously wrong if you're dying too much, especially if you have Bailu on the team, right? Then you shouldn't be dying too often like this. But I guess it's nice to have a backup just in case if you have some really bad Memory of Chaos runs, for example. Next up, let's talk team setups for Bailu, and honestly, anybody. She's a healer. This is the easiest part of the guide. Use Bailu with whoever you want, because she will do absolutely fine with whoever she's paired up with, because she's the healer, and this isn't like Genshin where you need to combine certain elements for like resonance buffs or for elemental reactions or anything like that. You can just use Bailu with whoever. Now, some teammates that I would like to mention. I know she's another 5-star character, but she's also on the 5-star or the standard banner, is Bronya. If you have a Bronya, she's great to be paired up with Bailu, because Bronya can cleanse debuffs, whereas Bailu can't, which is, again, one of her biggest weaknesses. So these two being paired up is really, really good. And hopefully they introduce more Harmony characters, or maybe even some other characters that can just straight up cleanse debuffs or have a high resistance to being debuffed, like Clara, where you don't really need to have a cleanser. That's where Bailu's going to do really, really well. Also keep in mind your enemy lineup. Not every enemy in this game has some annoying debuff or, you know, some stun thingy where you can't control your character, and that's where you want to use Bailu so you don't have to worry about any of that, and she can keep you alive. A good example of this is the ape enemies. If you've ever gone up against them, you know how annoying they can be. They don't debuff you, they buff themselves, and you can use Bailu to take that hit. She's sort of like a pseudo tank because you build so much HP on her that she can definitely, despite her small size, she can definitely take a bunch of hits and be fine. Alright, so this is the Memory of Chaos, stage 10. We're using Bailu here. Kafka just had her turn. Now Bailu's on her turn. When it comes to Bailu, again, you don't need to be using her skill unless you're in some really dire situations and you don't have your revive left. But in most cases with Bailu, you're just going to be using her normal attack. I would try to target an enemy that has lightning weakness, but they've already been broken, as you can see, so we just have her attack the main guy here. Okay, let the enemies have their turns. It's good that they're hitting Clara, since you get to counter. We use Clara's ult. Again, no one's in big trouble, so we just have Bailu just do her normal attack. It is a little unfortunate that Clara just got debuffed there. We did pop Bailu's ult to heal. And hopefully you can see the invigoration effect go off once someone gets hit. Let's see. I'm not gonna heal. There's no reason to, right? You can see the little invigoration heals when they get hit. Oh, that's a little unfortunate. But there's the first half of the first half of stage 10. All right. Let's go ahead and use ult. And we'll go ahead and focus Japard, because the other guy doesn't have lightning weakness. Again, Bailu is just keeping this team skill point positive. And Clara as well, because she doesn't need to use her skill. I'll pop that ult. Oops! I thought it was Sampo's turn. That was my bad. Executioner. Let's go ahead and just do that. Just being a little shy of Bailu's burst there is a little sad. I'm gonna break this guy's shield. Alright, my Clara just got really unlucky this run, and this is a great showcase of Bailu here. So she got debuffed twice, even though Clara has like a decent chance to resist debuffs on her own thanks to her major traces, and she got targeted a lot. This is also because of her ult. So thankfully we have Bailu's ult here to help resurrect Clara, and that's gonna save us a star. Otherwise we would, if we were any other healer, we would have had to reset the run already. Although I will admit this run isn't really that good because we're coming up on 4 cycles here, and these two aren't really close to dying, so we're gonna go ahead and use the ult from Bailu's, just so that Clara has a healthy amount of HP. Go ahead and do his skill. Oh, I thought we were able to kill the big guy, but no. Doesn't look like it. Okay, hopefully this is enough. It should be enough. There you go. So that's the end of the first half, at least. We're not going to do the second one with the bug fight, because obviously Bailu's not here. So that's going to be a wrap on this guide. Hopefully this guide was helpful in helping you build out your Bailu if you're just starting out. If they ever give a Lightcone or a Relic set or something that allows Bailu to cleanse, then Bailu will go back to being one of the, the best healers in the game. And she currently is still one of the best healers in the game. What Bailu has is an emergency panic button, and that's her ultimate healing. Characters like Huohuo, her ult is the buff, right, to her team. It's not a heal. She heals from her skill and her talent, and her Lightcone if you have it. Luocha only heals when allies do damage, and also only one ally when they go really, really low HP, but you don't have a heal that you personally can control. Natasha has something similar as well, so I guess those two are similar, but having a nice emergency panic button when things go south is always a comfort. So I think Bailu's going to be a very solid healer. I mean, she is a solid healer, and she's going to be very helpful for you and for your future teams, whatever you want to use her in, for the unforeseeable future. Is she going to get power crept by, even better healers out there? Of course, it's just bound to happen with gacha games, right? They always got to give you some incentives to pull for new characters. With that being said, that's going to be a wrap for this guide. If you have any other questions for me about Bailu's kit, or I didn't explain something right, or you have your own Bailu tips for other new players out there, feel free to leave them down below in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.